Hey everybody, Matt again, and I just made a video response to contest entry for James Lack, Rockboy 680's 2000 subscribers contest. So go check that out and enter. He wants you to name your favorite albums of decades, and it's wild, crazy, and fun stuff there. Anyway, a while back, and I hadn't done this in a while, I started at the very beginning with Please Please Me. Kind of ripped off an idea of Mean Mr. Mayo Joe and Larry Graves, Canadian stud muffin, had been doing albums, Beatles albums in specific, even though Larry did albums by other bands too, but taking an album and just ranking the songs in order of preference on the album that you've taken. Anyway, so yeah, started off with the first Beatles album and worked my way up and did Revolver, and so now we come to this 1967 effort of the band that you may have heard of called Sgt. Pepper. And again, this is with the Beatles being my favorite band and all. It's very hard to do this because there's really nothing on most of these albums, especially up to this point, almost all the albums up to this point, that I don't like. And that's the case with this album too. There's no song on here that I hate, despise, and there's really no song that I'm even lukewarm on and don't like. So it's not a worst to best in this case. It's a order preference, which of course, as always, if you ask me the same thing next week, it might change the order that is. And there's a picture of the band too. That's all four of them. Anyway, so I'm going to start. I'm going to go. There's actually, I've got listed as 14 songs on this album, which might come as a surprise. And I'm going to start with number 14 and work to number 1. So number 14, my choice is She's Leaving Home, which is a very pretty, beautiful, and nice song. It's kind of interesting in that this being the whole counterculture and summer of love and don't trust anyone over 30 and hippie days and stuff, when people are railing against the establishment and the older people, that Paul takes the position of looking at a situation like this from the parents' point of view instead of the youngster's point of view. It's also, well, I like the song. It's very nice, very pretty, and it's probably always going to be my least favorite on this album. And when I play the album, I enjoy it and I listen to it, but it's not one that I really go out of my way to anticipate or put on by itself. This is an example of what George and John would call Paul's granny music, even though for that it's pretty good. Not a bad song, just there's better stuff on the album. And truth be told, Ray Davies with songs like Two Sisters and so forth handled this sort of material, which was the same thing, which kind of looked at the from the point of the view of the sister that stays at home and raises her kids and does the laundry. She's the hero of the song, as opposed to the girl, the other sister, that's going out and going to parties and running around and having all sorts of fun. But Ray kind of handles this sort of stuff better, to be honest. Paul does a great job on it, though, and it is a good song, so I'm not knocking it. Number 13, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, another song that I really like, and I like the weird where they cut up the tape and threw it in the air and glued it together for the whirly, whooshy organ weird sound. John took most of the song from an old circus poster that he had in his house that he bought at an antique store, I believe. I like the song, but it's just, again, compared to the others on this album, it's nice, and I like it, and I don't know what else to say about it. Number 12, Sgt. Pepper's Inner Groove. That's how I got the 14 songs on there, which I don't know if you really want to count that as a song, and it's not on all versions of the album. I'm not sure what it was on the mono version in England. I don't know if it was on the American version on the original ones. Maybe it was. I don't know. But it's a weird little trick that they do at the end of the album after A Day in the Life, where it does that, and it just keeps going if you don't pick the record up, and which would drive you nuts. But for what it is, it's a neat little thing, and it's a funny, cool little deal, and I kind of like it, so I listed that as a song, and I listed it at number 12. If you play it backwards, it says something dirty about Superman. Number 11, George's contribution, Within You Without You, which when I was younger, that would have been my, if I would have ranked this album back when I was 14 or 16 or whatever, that would have been number 14 because I thought it was well done and nice but very boring. But as I've grown older, I've come to appreciate it more, and it's really a nice piece of music. And I used to think it was kind of a dreary song, and I guess it sort of is a little bit still, but it's a very nicely done and a good piece of music. And I appreciate and enjoy George's Indian themed contributions to the Beatles now more than I did when I was a kid, and I really like it. It's a really good song. Actually, looking at the list now, I probably should have flipped it for 10 instead of 11, but since I already made my list, which I'm looking at now, I'll leave it at number 11 for now. Number 10, When I'm 64, a song that ever since 1982 I haven't been able to hear without thinking of the movie The World According to Garp. Great book, pretty great movie too. Of course, that's the opening credits of that movie. Guess that was before Beatles music was super expensive, because I know Mad Men, they wanted to play 30 seconds or so of Tomorrow Never Knows, and they had to pay like $250,000 for the rights to do that. I don't know what they paid to use When I'm 64 in Garp 30 some years ago. But anyway, another Paul's Granny music songs, but it's I like it. It's the old sort of old English music hall type 20s sounding music, and it's a neat song. It's a little dippy, but it's good, and the sentiment is true to form, true to heart. Kind of funny to think that Paul is well past 64 now, when he was, don't know what he was when he wrote this, like 26 or something, 27. Anyway, number 9, Ringo's contribution, With a Little Help from My Friends. I love the harmonies of the others singing, answering Ringo. It's a good song, good bass line, bounces around along. I like it quite a bit. So why is it number 9? Because I like 8 songs better on this album, really. Which comes to number 8, Fixing a Hole, is a McCartney contribution. Maybe that's why it took so long to get to this album, because there's really not a lot to say. It's a great song. So we'll move on to number 7, Good Morning, Good Morning, John contribution. That's one of them on the album that a lot of people tend to rank toward the bottom. I always liked it. I like the watching your skirt, you start to flirt line, and I like the lyrics. I like the end, even though the Beach Boys had done it before on Pet Sounds, but at the end of the song, when you get all the horse and the carriage, and I guess it's an elephant, and the dogs, and all the animal sounds, and I like the guitar work of George, I guess, maybe it's Paul, I'm not sure. Just a good little bouncy rock and roll Summer of Love psychedelic number. So Fixing a Hole, Good Morning, I'm sorry, at number 7. Number 6, this is going to surprise everybody, A Day in the Life, which is brilliant, one of their best songs. I love it and all that. But I've always kind of appreciated it more than I loved it, and I do love it, but it comes in at number 6 because there's just songs on here that I like better. And while it is one of their greatest songs from a technical songwriting standpoint, musical standpoint, there's a lot of Beatles songs that I've always liked better, even though I do like it. So A Day in the Life comes in at number 6. Number 5 is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. John contribution, of course. Great psychedelic imagery, and I love the whoever's playing the piano or keyboards, especially towards the end where it kind of speeds up, and it's just a great song. Number 4, Getting Better. Have to admit it's getting better. Paul thing. It's just a 10. I love the song, and what to say. I can't think of anything, so I'll move on to number 3 is the Sgt. Pepper reprise toward the end of the album there, right before Day in the Life. I love this. I guess it's all 3 of them singing that, and it's just a pounding beat and just catchy as can be, and just uh, great psychedelic rock and roll, and love it. Number two, Lovely Rita. This is a Paul heavy album. Lovely Rita, love that. Love Lovely Rita. The just a neat story and imagery. I mean, realistic imagery, not the psychedelic imagery of something like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, but uh, lyrically and the vocal performance, the music, and just a great song. And number one is the title track, the first song, Sergeant Pepper, which is a great. Paul kind of tried to do this again later in the year with Magical Mystery Tour, which is love that song too. But this is a he did better here the first time around. So that is my ranking of Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. Um, I don't know how interesting that was for anybody. I don't know if anybody's seen. They have going around on social media because so many people died in 2016, and I saw that they kept updating it. Someone did this with all the people that had died through the year, which is a cheery thought. But anyway, I mean, you had pictures like Prince and David Bowie and Muhammad Ali and Gene Wilder and Patty Duke and everybody. And then I mean, it was updated as Carrie Fisher and so forth and so on. And then down here it said Brexit instead of Beatles. And then down here was it Tolson's? Probably got that wrong. Some kind of candy that's over in England that's popular, and there was a big ruckus because they changed the way the box is shaped or the number of candies in the box or something. We don't have that candy over here, so I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of something interesting to look up on the World Wide Web. Have fun.